I'm Tanguy Libes. I'm the head of the product management service at CASD, which is one of the three departments of CASD, and we actually handle contractual, financial, HR, and non-compliance aspects. When it comes to CASD, which stands for, in French, Secure Data Access Center, we are a public organization acting as a trusted third party between data producers who entrust us with their data and authorized data users. Basically, we provide secure processing environments to access a wide range of highly detailed data, such as tax and business data, health data, administrative data produced by the French Statistical Institute, and our different ministries. And to do so, we implement various technical, organizational, and contractual measures to make sure that the right person has access to the right data sets for the right data processing, which has been duly authorized. We actually deliver secure services, which we call the secure bubbles, to allow authorized users to remotely access and process in their secure virtual workspace various data, including personal data, for statistical or research purposes. The infrastructure hosting the data is only reachable by biometric access control measures and encryptors connections, thanks to a specific terminal, which we call the SD box, that are hosted in contractually and technically specified locations. So that's basically the services we provide. So during the evaluation process, the auditors had to assess how we allow the authorized users to access the data they got clearance for, how we operate the secure environment and our infrastructure, how we secure our procedures from the data deposits by the data producers to the data storage on our web, our servers, and the access control measures we implement. All this from a GDPR point of view. It was really quite straightforward for us. Because data security and data protection are at the core of our missions. Some might say our DNA. Our services are already compliant with the ISO 27001 norm, which concerns information security management, but also the ISO 27701 norm, which relates to privacy information management, and the health data hosting reference frame. But over the past few years, we've been increasingly challenged by our partners and stakeholders who do have increasing expectations, notably when it comes to personal data protection. And even though we did our best to really seize the GDPR requirements with both hands and make sure to apply them, we've been increasingly challenged. Not to mention that our users are, they often need to get clearance from our French data protection authority to process some types of data, such as personal data, for instance. So as their data processing system, being GDPR compliant does make things much easier for them. So it really seemed logical to pursue this GDPR certification to say officially prove our compliance. It does help a lot when you ask yourself, okay, is this data processing actually GDPR compliant? Because the Europrivacy certification scheme provides a number of highly detailed checklists to cover all the aspects of the GDPR you want to review when it comes to personal data security and protection, which makes things much easier to follow up than the regulation itself, because it's quite complicated to go through all the terms. Even if, of course, being acquainted with the GDPR is a prerequisite, that the certification scheme makes things much easier. It allows you to map what's actually applicable to your data processing operations. Like, do you have to address the data subject's consent, for instance, or their rights? So it allows you to provide a much more concise overview of your data processing operations than the process record we use normally, and it allows you to identify any potential lack. Hence, it strengthens your compliance strategy from a legal point of view, at least, because the Europrivacy certification really focuses on the legal dimension relating to the personal data processing, rather than the technical measures only. So it does complement other certification schemes, such as for instance, the ISO 27701, that addresses the protection of personal data in a much broader and more technical sense. And finally, the process itself entails an external review of your system from an expert auditor. In our case, was Zoltan Intimacy from TAM CERT, who extensively checked and challenged our compliance, which turned out to be pretty useful and efficient indeed. It's a kind of a seal of approval issued by a well-known and widely recognized organization, which does sanction your efforts to comply with state-of-the-art requirements when it comes to personal data protection. And the list of certification criteria is publicly available. So the certification does increase the transparency of your compliance strategy to your various stakeholders. I'm thinking, in our case, for instance, of the data producers, of course, but also of non-national partners or counterparts who may have different interpretation of the GDPR requirements. So in that sense, the certification helps build trust. And eventually, we trust this will foster innovative research and studies relying on highly detailed data. And why not facilitate cross-border data sharing and processing in the near future? That'd be beyond the competitive advantage, obviously, yes. Well, passing a GDPR certification has allowed us to focus on very specific aspects of our activities. It did help us first get an extensive overview of our data processing operations and the documentation required to substantiate our compliance. Second, it had us assess every single aspect of the GDPR requirements and make sure we don't overlook any of them. Finally, it did clarify, it allowed us to clarify some internal concepts to deliver the proper level of transparency and information. And for us, it's already bearing fruit, because we've got many feedbacks from our stakeholders, be they data producers, our scientific committee members, and even the media. And we've also received new requests from potential partners following our certification. So yeah, it's kind of a competitive advantage, but it also provides you some kind of a visibility to the public and your partners. I would give 4 pieces of advice, quite to be as short as possible. Some might label the points, so apologies for that. But first, I'd say take your time and don't rush, because it's a long way from deciding to start a certification process and actually getting the certification stamp itself, at least for the first time. Because you have to build your system, plan and document it. You must have it run for a while, then check for any gaps or non-compliance with your initial plans. And that should allow you to identify correction measures, which should in turn improve your system. This building phase can take quite a long time indeed, and it's really crucial, and you have to get your system running for a sufficient period of time to be able to identify its strengths and weaknesses. So yeah, it does take quite a while to get certified, to build the system and have it certified. My second advice would be, don't hesitate to ask some help from experts, because certifications are often based on core documents and approaches. Of course, there are methods and tools out there who can help you, and if you get acquainted with them, but nothing compares to an external expert's point of view when it comes to identifying the gaps with the key requirements of your targeted certification. And in the same vein, training your key staff members might be a good idea so that they get an overview of the underlying principles of such approaches. So yeah, that'd be the second one. The third one would be, don't see too big and be crystal clear. When defining the scope of your target of evaluation, it's of the utmost importance that you be as clear as possible so that you can map its key components and processes and to avoid any misinterpretation or inconsistencies. Sometimes it's far more productive to focus on a limited set of core activities which you can manage and master more easily before thinking of expanding the scope in the future. And the fourth and last advice would be, involve the whole organization and communicate as much as possible. In my point of view, such projects should never be a top-bottom approach. Neither should it be isolated. You should involve as many staff members as possible, whatever the domain of expertise, because they'll help you build your system and they'll be those operating it. So involving them in such project is really the best way to get prime intel and know-hows. One last bonus advice when it comes to Europrivacy certification itself is hire a DPO, data protection officer, or be doomed. Joking apart, the certification is very, very much focused on legal and organizational measures to secure your data processing, and you have to document their compliance. You really want to have an expert who will coordinate that. Yeah, I think that's very important to have such a person internally who will handle the work to the Europrivacy certification. So first, take your time. Second, ask for help from experts. Third, don't see too big and be clear. 4, involve your whole organization. And 5, hire a DPO. We are really grateful for your help and your involvement in this process, which is really important for us. And we do think that it will pave the way towards a brighter future for research and statistical studies. So really thank you for your work. Thank you for having been able to move to the next step the GDPR is a very important piece of regulation, and we needed this for us to really prove that we comply with the GDPR and have, be at the edge of what is actually needed for such data processing. So really, thank you.